But up next, two former champions make their return to the TNA ring for an Xplosion main event.
The following contest for TNA Xplosion is scheduled for one fall. Introducing first, proudly representing his home of London, England, weighing in at 238 pounds, Magnus.
Well, look who has returned after several months of what he has described to himself as just a well-needed absence. Magnus returns to action here on TNA Xplosion.
Well, it looks great, man. Magnus seems to be in fine fickle, which means he looks to be in good shape.
And his opponent, from parts unknown, Suicide.
Well, talk about returns. Have a look at this.
Absolutely, Suicide returns to action here on TNA Xplosion, and certainly after several months off himself, taking a tour of Japan, traveling throughout the world, Suicide returns to TNA action now with this big matchup. Certainly two guys coming back on the scene, well, with a lot to prove to us.
That's a good way to get yourself back on the radar, the TNA radar. So who's gonna get that comeuppance? Who's gonna get that victory?
Pretty interesting since the dissolution of the British invasion. Look what's happened. Douglas Williams, X Division champion. Rob Terry, global champion. Now Magnus on his own. Wow, taking it right to Suicide.
Well, Magnus probably should have maybe hooked a leg or hooked the head and arm when he went for that cover. But, you know, Magnus, I don't think his conceitedness has changed. He still has that swagger, that ego. I like that about him.
Always kind of considered the most arrogant of the British invasion members. And Suicide showing absolutely no signs of being away from the ring from any time. 2.5 there.
Well, it seems like Suicide worked on his tan while he was gone, huh?
Well, certainly. It looks as though Brutus Magnus spent some time in the gym as well. Big boot.
Yeah, I don't know if that boot was intended for the face of Suicide, but it hit Suicide in the sternum area. It was effective.
Magnus, big World Cup fan.
How do you know that?
He told me that actually today, as a matter of fact.
So what, anybody from the UK is a World Cup fan?
Well, he is very upset about the recent tie that we saw between the United States.
Gotcha.
Not so fast, catches him in midair. That's the power, that's the strength, straight down.
And the arrogance, as you pointed out, might get it. Magnus, oh! You see, like Magnus, when he was in that cover, it was almost like he was looking around like he was bored. You know, like he's showing no respect at all for Suicide, and now grounding Suicide with that rear chin lock.
Now Suicide back in action here in TNA Wrestling. Interesting, one of the first action figures launched for TNA in this brand new series that we've seen. Suicide makes his return.
Yeah.
And certainly...
Why not? I remember you had it on your dashboard when I was in your little Nissan, your little car you had. You gave me a ride to the airport. You had it. The big Suicide action figure. I was impressed with that, JB.
That was actually a Vega, not a Nissan.
A Vega.
Locking in the headlock, going for...
It's a side headlock.
A side headlock.
Who's counting?
Certainly with submission maneuvers as they are. Not known for that specifically, but Magnus has shown strength, has shown the ability to lock in a hold like this and take it all the way to win.
Well, side headlock, front face lock, rear chin lock, all effective. Neutralize the man's head, and that's what, you know, Suicide realized. Wait a minute. Just raked the guy's eyes with wearing a mask. I've never seen that before. Huh.
Well, that's right out of the playbook.
Which
of
playbook?
Magnus.
Oh.
Yes.
That was sweet right there by Suicide. Face first into the second turnbuckle. Goes Magnus's face. Look at this misdirection maneuver. What did you got? No.
Suicide comes alive in this Xplosion matchup. The signature maneuvers, we've seen them before, and that usually spells the end one way or another. Former X Division champion to the top rope.
Magnus, no signs of him moving too much. Crashed and burned goes Suicide. Magnus in for the kill.
Here it comes. This is Tormentor. And that should spell the end to Brutus Magnus gets the win on this edition of Xplosion. Great victory, big comeback. He's back on the TNA roster and looking for action. He's Magnus on Xplosion.
I've been gone for 3 months to reassess, reevaluate, refocus. And I've only got one thing on my mind right now, and that's championship gold. Rob Terry, I told you before, and I'm telling you again, I brought you in here. I will show you the door on the way out. I'm accepting your open challenge for the global championship. And pal, take good care of that belt, because you only got it for 1 more week.
The challenge laid down by the Freak Rob Terry.
Wait a minute. Yeah, Magnus laying down that challenge, but here comes the Freak, the global champion, Rob Terry. Well, these guys used to be former paisans.
Well, I got good news, and I've got bad news, Maggie.
Oh, the Maggie.
And the crowd picking right up on it.
The good news is you'll be facing me shorter than you think, because I never back down from a challenge. However, the bad news is that while you were showing off in front of all these people, Homicide went to Eric Bischoff, and he agreed to my challenge. So next week, I will put my title on the line to Homicide and not you.
Homicide? Since when does Homicide outrank me? Look, Maggie, keep your mouth shut. I know what this is. I know what this really is. You're afraid of Magnus. You're afraid of me.
Is that so?
Well, open your mouth and this is what's going to happen. Obviously, Rob Terry does not fear Magnus.
No, the Freak is bringing it right now. Straight forge ahead to Magnus. 2 big bricks right in each other's grove.
Oh, there's a slap right across the face.
Well, if you remember, I mean, during the British invasion days, the Freak Rob Terry was subservient to Magnus. Those days are gone.
And now as TNA Global Heavyweight Champion, Rob Terry calling the shots. Homicide gets the title opportunity next week right here on Xplosion. We can't wait for that matchup. It happens next week.